Hello everyone, today I'm going to explain 5 technical questions from the HCIA exam. Last time we discussed question 5, so now let's look at question 6. This question is asking us about the following radius configuration. Which of the following statements about the radius configuration are correct? So the relevant information in the configuration includes, as you can see here, an authentication address, right? Then there's also an accounting address, and then there's this one as well. NAS IP. Right? This is the original IP sent by the router when it sends the radius packet, not the server address, right? And the correct answer is this one. Look at this option A here, authorization. The IP for authorization and the IP for authentication are both 200.0.12.1. Both of them are this one. Yeah, right. And then the IP for accounting is 200.0.12.1, right? So the correct answers are A, B, and C. If that's wrong, then the second question, which is question 7. In this question, they're asking us which one is this basic ACL. For example, what is the number range for the ACL? So the number range for basic ACLs as defined by Huawei is this option B, 2000 to 2999. All right, question 8 is still about 3A authentication, and this time the remote server is not responding. It says on Huawei devices, 3A authentication has been enabled, but the remote server is not responding. Is it possible to perform authentication on this network device when configuring AAA on Huawei? You can configure a backup authentication method. For example, when the Radius server does not respond, it can fall back to local authentication. So the correct answer to this question is true. So you should choose this one. This description is correct. Right, now let's move on to question 9. Oh, question 9 is specifically about the DNS protocol, the DNS portal, right? What exactly is its main function? The letter D here stands for domain, which is part of the domain name system.
Let's pause for a short announcement. Friends, if you're currently preparing for this ITification exam, or if you've been studying for a while but don't feel your preparation is very efficient, this is something you shouldn't miss. Our team has been focused on its certification dumps for 16 years, doing one thing consistently, organizing the most up-to-date, most exam accurate, and easiest to use dumps to help candidates pass their exams more efficiently. Our dumps closely follow official exam updates. They are stable, highly accurate, and well aligned with real exam questions, allowing you to prepare with more confidence while spending less time. If you'd like to get the dumps for this exam and pass the certification faster, you can contact us directly via WhatsApp or YouTube private messages. We're happy to explain the latest update dates, dump stability, exam policies in different countries, as well as any current purchase discounts. Everything is clear and transparent before you decide. We also place great importance on payment security and privacy protection. The entire purchasing process is simple and secure, with no unnecessary data collection. Your personal information and privacy are fully protected. In addition, we provide 24/7 consultation and after-sales support. Whether you're just getting started or running into issues right before the exam, our support team will patiently and professionally help you analyze and solve problems. You're never preparing alone. Beyond this specific exam, our dumps cover almost all major IT certification tracks. If you plan to pursue other IT certifications in the future, feel free to reach out anytime. We'll give recommendations based on your goals.
And N stands for name, right? And S stands for system, the domain name. Oh, this specific one. Domain name system, also known as the domain name resolution system, right? The domain name, actually, it's called the domain name system, and its main function is to take the domain name and resolve it to an IP address, right? In English, the IP and the domain name have a mapping relationship on the DNS server. For example, if you buy a domain name for your website, for example, let's say you run a website, and for your website, you type in something like www.something.com. That's your domain name. When you enter this domain name, it doesn't take you directly to the website. First, you need to access the DNS. You have to visit the DNS server. And on this DNS server, there's a mapping between the domain name and its IP address, right? It resolves the IP address and tells you what the IP is so that you can use the IP to access the server, right? So these organizations or companies that operate websites, their servers, they all register the IP addresses of their servers. Then they map the IP address to the domain name they purchased and submit this mapping, right? That's why you can look it up here. So what's the correct answer? The correct answer is D. Right? Domain name resolution is responsible for resolving domain names. All right, question 10. For question 10, it asks about the DHCP settings. It says that within this address pool, here, I need to set a lease. Set a lease period. Which of these leases is the shortest? Among the options below, which lease is the shortest? First, let's eliminate option C. Option C is about relay. Relay means that when my host sends out, I send a packet to this switch, right? Then this switch is a layer 3 switch, and it has a layer 3 logical interface, which is when I configure a VLAN. A VLAN, and in Huawei's terminology, it creates a virtual interface called VLAN-F. Right? This interface isolates broadcasts. It isolates broadcasts. So when you send out this packet, it's called a discover. Discover. It is a broadcast packet, right? It can't be sent out. For example, your server is over here, so it can't be sent over, right? That's why we configure a relay. So this answer actually has nothing to do with the lease at all. If he asks us which lease is the shortest, everyone might pick A, but the mistake here is that it's misleading and makes us choose 0. What does 0 mean? 0 means unlimited duration. Unlimited duration. Right? 0 means unlimited duration, and this one is 0 days and 10 hours. 0 days, 10 hours, and then this one is 24 hours, 24 days. Right? The first parameter is they. The second parameter is over. The third parameter is minute. Right? First hours, then minutes. So which one is the shortest? B is the shortest. The correct answer is B. All right, if you want to learn more about Huawei communication technology, or if you want to get the Huawei question bank, please send me a private message. You can also leave a comment below the video.